this is not the master bedroom of the Mayapple Road house, which led me to the conclusion that this is Alex Raymond getting a bed put into his studio that he decided to have in downtown Stamford. Instead of at the house, he was going to work downtown sometime. His explanation of that being that he got into the camaraderie of being in the Marines and hanging out with the guys and having lunch and stuff like that, and wasn't interested in going back to just being dad in the living room of his mansion, drawing his comic strip, which he had as a pre-war thing. It was partly that, but I think it was partly that was when he started thinking about committing adultery. He wanted to have sex with somebody else, and he wanted to have sex with somebody much younger than he was. And so he had this cover story of he's going to put a single bed in the studio that he has on South Street, so that if he's working really, really late and he needs to take a nap for an hour or so, which is also true. He was in his mid-40s at that point, and Rip Kirby was a very arduous strip to do. Like, he invented photorealism, and he did everything absolutely from scratch. So, yes, there are occasions that he's probably going to have a nap, but he could probably have just had a couch in his studio. He really didn't need a bed. And I think this attracted high-level metaphysical attention, where it was, we want a photograph of Alex Raymond in bed working on his comic strip, because we're calling this a cover story. We don't think that this is actually he works in bed or he needs a bed in his studio. We think this is adultery. This is he maybe doesn't even know consciously that that's what he's doing. Now the problem comes in because these are time-life photographs. Eddie got sort of second-generation photocopies, which, okay, they're really good Life magazine photos. They're taken by a professional photographer. I can see exactly what's going on in them. But the expressions on Raymond's face and the setup that he's sitting in this bed in his pajamas with this breakfast board shoots him and nicks him in the forehead. And the only part of all of the strips that are in these time-lapse photographs, the only panel that isn't ink is the panel where Rip Kirby gets shot.
Okay. That's weird.
That's one of those, you say, okay, and I understand that. This is why I'm explaining that if you just want to know what happened September 6th, 1956, here's what happened. I'll be happy to tell you that. I want to know why that happened. Why did